Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're diving into AI chips. And a company that's really making a splash, Broadcom. We're looking at excerpts from a Motley Fool article about Broadcom's, well, amazing first quarter 2025.
Yeah.
They did so well that their stock jumped over 12% after hours on March 7th.
Wow, that's a huge jump, even for someone who follows the markets pretty closely. What's interesting is, well, Broadcom's not exactly a household name.
Right.
But they're quickly becoming, really crucial to this whole AI revolution.
So what's the secret sauce?
Mm-hmm.
The article says they blew past Wall Street predictions for earnings and revenue.
Well, their secret weapon is the huge demand for their custom AI chips.
Okay.
These chips are like the brains behind some of the most powerful AI systems in the world. Companies are really scrambling to get a hold of them.
Custom AI chips, though.
Yeah.
Can you explain that a little more? For our listeners who might not be chip experts, why not just use normal computer chips?
Yeah, good point. So I think of it like this. A regular computer chip is like, I don't know, a Swiss Army knife. It can do a bunch of things pretty well.
Right.
But a custom AI chip, that's more like a specialized scalpel.
Okay.
It's designed and built for a very specific purpose. And in this case, it's all about, crunch the numbers and data processing.
Mm-hmm.
That AI demands,
So they're tailored basically for peak performance.
Exactly.
But what's behind this sudden surge in demand for these AI chips? Is it just a few tech companies, or is there something bigger going on?
It's definitely part of a bigger trend.
Okay.
The Motley Fool article talks about Broadcom working with what are called hyperscalers.
Hyperscalers.
Yeah.
I've heard that term, but can you break that down for our listeners a little bit?
Sure.
What are they and why are they so important to all of this?
So imagine, companies with data centers the size of cities, filled with tons of servers, processing insane amounts of information. Those are your hyperscalers.
Okay.
Think Google, Amazon, Microsoft.
Right, the big guys.
Yeah, they're the backbone of the internet.
Yeah.
And they're relying more and more on AI to
Right.
run everything from search results to shopping to cloud computing.
So these hyperscalers, they need serious AI power,
Yeah.
and Broadcom is stepping up to provide it.
Exactly. The article mentions Broadcom's CEO, Hock Tan,
Mm-hmm.
and he said on an earnings call that these hyperscalers are predicted to create a market for AI chips
Mm-hmm.
worth something like $60 to $90 billion by
Wow.
2027.
That's an incredible amount of money, and it sounds like they're really betting big on Broadcom to deliver.
That's right. And here's where it gets really interesting.
Okay.
Tan also mentioned that Broadcom is already talking to 4 more hyperscalers,
Oh, wow.
in addition to the 3 they're already working with.
So that $60 to $90 billion prediction, that doesn't even include these other companies.
Exactly. Which means we could be looking at an even bigger boom in the AI chip market, the next few years.
Yeah.
And Broadcom is, they're set to be right in the middle of it all.
Okay, so this is huge news for investors, obviously.
Mhm.
But for the rest of us, what does it all mean? What's the takeaway for someone who maybe isn't, watching the stock market every day?
I think it tells us a couple of really important things about where AI is going. First, it shows that AI isn't just a buzzword anymore.
Right.
It's becoming a really central part of, our digital lives.
Yeah.
Largely thanks to these hyperscalers.
Yeah.
And second, it signals that custom-designed AI chips, they're not just some niche product.
Yeah.
They're quickly becoming, the engine driving this whole AI revolution.
So even though, most of us don't interact directly with these chips, they're having a massive impact behind the scenes.
Yes.
Shaping how we search for information, how businesses operate.
Exactly. And as these chips get even more powerful and more complex, the potential for AI just keeps growing.
Yeah.
And it makes you wonder,
Yeah.
what does that future look like?
Yeah. I mean, if these huge companies are already investing billions in this technology, it must mean they see some pretty incredible potential in it.
Absolutely. But, like with any really powerful technology, there are questions about, well, how it'll be used, what impact it will have
Right.
on, society as a whole.
So what are some of the things that we should be watching out for as this technology keeps developing?
Well, one crucial thing is how accessible these chips are. Right now, it's mainly these hyperscalers who can afford to develop and use them.
Right.
But what if they become more affordable
Yeah.
and more available to, a wider range of companies, researchers? What could that look like?
Yeah, that's a really interesting thought. Could we see a wave of innovation
Possibly, yeah.
if smaller companies and startups suddenly have access to this kind of computing power, it's possible. And it could lead to, new applications and breakthroughs in fields like healthcare, education, maybe even entertainment.
But I imagine there are some potential downsides, too.
Oh, absolutely.
If this powerful technology is more widespread,
Yeah,
are there unintended consequences we need to be thinking about?
for sure. Greater access to this powerful AI tech could raise concerns about ethical use, data privacy, potential for misuse. It's really important that we have, open and honest conversations about these issues as AI continues to evolve.
So it sounds like we're at the beginning of something really exciting, but maybe a little bit challenging, too, in terms of AI development.
Yeah,
And Broadcom's success is a good indicator of just how fast things are moving.
absolutely.
This deep dive has been really eye-opening. We've talked about a lot, from Broadcom's financials to, the technical details of AI chips to what this means for the future of AI. What are some key takeaways you want listeners to walk away with? I think it's vital to understand that AI isn't some, futuristic concept anymore.
Right.
It's here, it's evolving super fast, and it's being powered by this really sophisticated hardware, like these custom AI chips.
And Broadcom is a leader in developing and using this technology, which, gives us this unique perspective on where AI is headed.
Exactly. But it's important to keep in mind that, we're still in the early stages. The possibilities for AI are massive, and we're just starting to figure out what's possible.
So for our listeners who might be feeling a little overwhelmed by all this, talk of AI and chips and hyperscalers, what's the one thing you want them to remember?
I'd say this. AI is changing the world in huge ways, and understanding the technology that powers it is crucial for navigating this new landscape. So whether you're, an investor, a tech enthusiast, or just someone who's curious about the future, paying attention to companies like Broadcom, it can give you valuable insights into where AI is going.
Yeah.
And how it might affect your life.
That's a really good point. Staying informed and engaged is so important for understanding the potential of AI, and making sure it develops in a way that benefits everyone.
Absolutely. And, every deep dive, every conversation, everything we learn can help us make better choices and contribute to a future where AI is used responsibly and ethically.
Well said. Now, before we wrap up this part of our deep dive into Broadcom and the world of AI chips, I'd love to hear from you, the listener. What's been the most surprising or interesting thing you've heard so far? Anything spark a question that you want to explore more? Let us know. We'd love to keep this conversation going. It's fascinating to think about how these, custom chips are changing the game for AI. Are they like completely replacing those older types of chips, the ones that have been used for AI, like GPUs? We've heard a lot about those.
Yeah. It's not so much a replacement as a specialization, I guess you could say. Think of it like this. GPUs, those graphics processing units, they've been like the workhorse for AI for a long time.
Yeah.
Especially when it comes to like training those complex machine learning models. They're really powerful, like all-purpose engines.
So GPUs are like the heavy lifters of the AI world.
Yeah, pretty much.
But you're saying there's room for these custom chips to work alongside them.
Exactly. So while GPUs are really versatile custom chips, they offer this level of optimization, for very specific AI tasks. And it's a level that you just can't match with a GPU. It's kind of like, if you have a general contractor versus a craftsman who specializes in something really specific, like, wood carving.
Okay.
They're both skilled, but that specialist brings like this unique touch to a particular task.
But it sounds like Broadcom is kind of like the master craftsman of AI chips.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it.
Tailoring them, to the very specific needs of these hyperscalers.
Exactly. And the hyperscalers, with their giant data centers and really complex AI needs, they're clearly seeing the value in that level of specialization.
Now, Broadcom isn't the only company doing this, right?
No, not at all.
There are other companies out there developing these AI chips.
Yeah.
So what makes Broadcom stand out, from the competition?
That's a good question. One thing that sets Broadcom apart is that they have this deep understanding of both the hardware and the software. They don't just design chips. They really work hand in hand with their clients.
Okay.
To figure out what their specific AI needs are. And then they develop these custom solutions that fit really seamlessly, into their systems.
So it's almost like they're not just providing the tools, but they're also helping their clients figure out how to use those tools most effectively.
Exactly. It's very much a collaborative approach. And it's been incredibly successful. I mean, Broadcom has a long history of smart acquisitions.
Okay.
Buying up companies that really complement what they're already doing,
Right.
And let them expand their offerings.
So they're not just, innovating from within, but they're also bringing in outside expertise.
Yes.
To kind of stay ahead of the game.
Yeah, exactly. And this forward-thinking approach, it's helped them consistently do really well in the market. Their stock has been, really solid for years.
Mm-hmm.
And their move into AI chips
Mm-hmm.
seems like it's going to, continue that trend.
I'm sure, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure all this talk about the stock market might be a little intimidating for some listeners, but even if we put aside the investment angle for a minute, Broadcom's story is really relevant to anyone who's interested in the future of technology, right?
Absolutely. I mean, their success, it gives us a look into the forces that are, shaking the tech landscape, the rise of AI, the need for this specialized hardware, the way these tech giants are strategically moving around.
Yeah.
These trends, they're going to have like ripple effects across so many industries.
Yeah.
And they're going to affect all of our lives, in one way or another.
This deep dive has been really eye-opening. We've talked about a lot. We've gone from Broadcom's financial performance to, the technical stuff about AI chips to the bigger picture of what this means for AI. What are some of the key takeaways you'd want our listeners to leave with?
Well, I think it's really important to understand that AI isn't just some far off concept anymore.
Right, it's happening now.
It's changing incredibly quickly.
Yeah.
And it's powered by, this incredibly sophisticated hardware like these AI chips we've been talking about.
Yeah, and Broadcom is playing this key role, in developing and using this tech, which gives us this really unique insight into where AI is going.
Exactly. But it's important to remember, this is still really early days.
Yeah.
The potential for AI is huge. We're just beginning to understand what's possible.
So for our listeners who might be feeling a little overwhelmed, like we said before, with all this talk of AI and chips and hyperscalers, what's the one message you want them to hold on to?
I would say this: AI is transforming our world, in really big ways, and understanding this technology that powers it is essential for navigating this new world. So whether you're an investor, a tech person, or just someone who's curious about what the future holds, keeping an eye on companies like Broadcom can really give you some valuable insight into where AI is headed and how it might affect you, down the road.
That's a great point. Staying informed and staying engaged is key to understanding the potential of AI and making sure it develops in a way that helps all of us. Right?
Absolutely. And remember, every deep dive, every conversation, every little bit of knowledge we get, it helps us make better decisions.
Right.
And it helps us contribute to a future where AI is used responsibly and ethically, for good.
Well said. Now, before we wrap up this deep dive into Broadcom and the world of AI chips, I'd love to hear from you, the listener. What's been, the most surprising or interesting takeaway for you so far? Anything spark a question you wanna dive into more? Let us know. We always love to keep the conversation going. It's wild to think about how much AI is already a part of our lives, even if we don't always see it. And if these custom AI chips, if they get even more powerful and more common, what could that mean for, the average person?
It really is mind-boggling when you think about the possibilities. Right now, these chips are mostly in the hands of those tech giants, the hyperscalers we talked about.
Right.
But imagine down the line, if this technology becomes more accessible, to smaller companies, research labs, even individuals, what could happen then?
It's like suddenly anyone could have the tools to create and use really advanced AI. What kind of impact could that have?
Well, think about it. Imagine startups with limited budgets suddenly being able to use AI to make groundbreaking discoveries in healthcare or education, clean energy, or researchers who can push the limits of scientific discovery with these AI-powered tools that they just couldn't get before. It can really, democratize access to AI.
Yeah.
Unlock a wave of creativity and progress.
That sounds incredible. Almost like a technological renaissance powered by AI.
Yeah.
But I also can't help but think about the potential downsides. If this powerful technology becomes more widespread, could it also lead to some some problems we didn't anticipate.
That's a really important point, and it's exactly why we need to have these conversations about AI ethics and responsible development.
Right.
As this technology keeps advancing, we need to think critically about, safeguards and regulations, even social norms, to make sure AI is used for good and doesn't make existing inequalities worse or create new ones.
So while it's, exciting to think about the good that could come from this, we also have to be aware of the potential risks and approach this technology carefully and responsibly.
Exactly. It's like we're standing at the edge of this new frontier.
Yeah.
It's full of promise and uncertainty. And Broadcom's story, their success with these custom AI chips, it really shows how important companies are in shaping, this new landscape.
They're not just responding to the demand for AI, they're really shaping its direction.
Exactly.
Pushing the boundaries of what's possible.
And that's why it's so important for companies like Broadcom to really put ethics first, to be transparent, and to commit to using AI in a way that benefits, everyone.
So the future of AI, it's not set in stone.
Right.
It's being shaped right now by the decisions we make, the investments we choose, and the conversations we have.
Well said. It reminds us that technology is a powerful tool, but it's up to us to decide how we use it.
Yeah.
And what kind of future we want to build.
This deep dive has been so interesting. We've covered so much today. We've seen how this company that most people have probably never even heard of is playing this key role in the AI revolution. We've talked about how custom-designed chips are changing everything and what it all means for all of us.
And we've just scratched the surface. There's so much more to explore in this world, in this field, and we encourage you to keep learning, keep asking questions, and be part of the conversation about where AI is going.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, we want to leave you with this one last thought. As AI becomes more and more part of our lives, what role do you want to play in shaping its development, and making sure it's used for the right reasons? Think about it. Every action, every conversation, every informed decision can make a difference. Thanks for joining us on the deep dive.